Hi everyone, this is Raymond Wood at Raise Reviews. We're very excited to come from our new studio here in Brisbane in Australia. Every Monday morning, we're going to do a Raise Reviews live on our TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and all our other social media platforms. But also, we will record this and we will post it to our YouTube and all of our social platforms. Now, Raise Reviews is back every Monday. For the whole of the year, we will review any of the talking points from the weekend's games. What we're going to cover is the English Premier League. Obviously, it's the biggest league in the world. For anyone that knows me, I'm one of the highest qualified coaches in Europe under UEFA. I'm also a UEFA Player Agent, and also I'm an ambassador for UEFA. Now, on Raise Reviews as well, you'll probably notice the copy of my book, The Pro Player Pathway. The Pro Player Pathway is a book that I wrote for aspiring football players or families. So it's aimed at boys and girls aged 4 to 5 years of age, all the way through to 23, 24 who want to know what it takes to make it as a pro. I talk about my experiences working in the Premier League and in Ligue 1 in France with PSG. I also talk about the pathway on how to get on the pathway. A lot of families think you need to be at a top academy when you're 11 and 12. You don't need to be. You can purchase a copy of the book right here, guys. Also, if you have a look at my profile page on TikTok and Instagram, you'll see under the profile, there's a link there, and that'll take you straight to purchase the book. Now, for the whole of 2025, we are going to be sponsoring players who purchase the book $10,000. What does that mean? It means that I'm going to work with you, not only as a coach remotely, but also as a player agent remotely to help you and your dreams come true. So whether you're 9, 10, 15, 16, 18 years of age, or you're a mum and dad who's got a young aspiring son or daughter, all you've got to do, guys, is take the first step, purchase the book. Once you've purchased the book, our team in Brisbane will reach out to you no matter where you are in the world. They will give you access to 2 of our biggest programs worth $5,000 each. Once you've got access to the programs, we'll give you an opportunity to come on a scholarship. The book is absolutely amazing, guys. It's been wrote basically for mums and dads who are not aware of what the pathway is or even on how to get on the pathway. Once you've purchased the book as well, guys, in the book, we've left another surprise in there for you. The beauty about this book is we want everyone to be successful. Once you've purchased the book, inside the book, there's a special QR code. Now, that QR code will allow you to apply for a scholarship to work with me as not only as your coach on the world's best football program called the Professional Player Pathway, but also it will enable you to work with me as a player agent, and I can represent you and help you on your football journey. Now, let's get into Raise Reviews. Now, Raise Reviews, guys, we had a lot of games and a lot of big games in the Premier League and a lot of talking points. The first game that we're going to talk about is Tottenham Hotspur 1, Newcastle United 2. Very controversial game. Obviously, I'm an Australian now and I'm an Australian passport holder. I'm a big fan of Ange Postecoglou. I think the biggest problem with that game was it come down to one decision. Now, I was very lucky to go to Tottenham Hotspur on about 6 occasions last year as a special guest. I did get to attend the game, Tottenham versus Liverpool last year. And it was that controversial decision around Luis Diaz's goal being ruled off for offside. There was a lot of other questionable decisions in that game. I don't know what it is about this new stadium, but it just seems to draw out some. I don't know if it's the worst referees or the worst VAR people in the room, but some of the decisions are just debacle. Now, the game Tottenham 1, Newcastle 2, we all know if you've seen the highlights, that is handball every single day of the week. It doesn't matter if your arm's in a natural position. Tottenham Hotspur are about to counter and his arm is out and it's a handball. It's quite clear and simple. Also, Gordon, who went on and scored the goal, I just can't believe that it wasn't pulled back for a handball. Also in that game, I'll be honest with you, I'm not a fan of him. And Gordon at Newcastle is diving on and off the ball. He done it a lot against Liverpool at home, Newcastle United versus Liverpool a couple of weeks ago. And again, I can't believe they're letting handball decisions like that stand and not pull them up and allow goals. But then we've got players who are falling on the feet all the time. I do truly believe exactly what Ange said in his post-game credits at the end. He said, you know, sometimes it's just the luck of the draw. They're having a hell of a run of a time at the moment with injuries, both centre-backs out. I am very, very confident that he's going to turn it around. Once he gets those squad of players back and fit in the next month or two, Tottenham Hotspur will turn that around. And I'm going to make a bit of a bold prediction. I'm going to put Tottenham inside the top 6. I think they're going to have a late run and they're going to hit 10 to 12 wins in the last 15 or 16 games. So Tottenham Hotspur. Newcastle United, again, getting a little bit of the rub of the green at the moment. They did against Liverpool at home a couple of weeks ago. A couple of really dodgy decisions went against Liverpool. Against Tottenham as well. I don't think that luck's going to last. And I think Newcastle will find themselves where I expect them to finish. And that's probably 8th, 9th or 10th by the time the season sorts itself out. Next game was Bournemouth and Everton. Again, not a great game. Both teams could have won it. Bournemouth did get the goal. So big congratulations to Bournemouth for getting that 1-0 win against Everton. For me, I think Everton, once they move into that new stadium, I think they're probably potentially going to look at, especially with the new owners, I think they're going to make a move and bring a new coach in. I think Dyche has done a good job. I think his remit was to keep Everton up. He's definitely going to keep them up. But I think moving into that new super stadium down at Bramley Docks in Liverpool, I think Everton need a big, big coach. And it's a shame for me, even though I am a big Liverpool fan, but I grew up with all my family members being Everton fans, is that it's a shame that Ancelotti didn't go to Everton next season instead of 3-4 seasons ago when he went. I think could have been different circumstances, but I think Everton are going to kick on. 1-0 defeat for them, but I think the home results are going to save them this season and they're going to be pretty safe to stay up. Aston Villa 2, Leicester City 1. Little bit of a close game, either ends. Villa dominated a little bit in the possession. Leicester did strike back, but unfortunately they couldn't hold on and Aston Villa got the win. Aston Villa again are starting to find a little bit of groove. I'm a big, big fan of Unai Emery. I'm a big fan of Aston Villa as well. For anyone who knows me, I am a huge Liverpool fan, as you can tell. But I am a big fan of all the football teams in the Premier League, and especially Aston Villa. Very, very good friend of mine. It was my mentor, Jason Whiff, and his father, Peter Whiff, is the Aston Villa legend, who scored, obviously, the winning goal in the Champions League final. So I think Leicester City, Ruud van Nistelrooy, he's found it a little bit tough, but I do truly believe he's going to turn it around. They're starting to look a little bit like Wolves did about 3 months ago, when I was watching Wolves in games against Man City and Liverpool, and I went to them games live, and you could tell that Wolves were just about to start to turn it around, and I think Leicester City are going to do the same. Ruud van Nistelrooy needs time to be given a chance, and hopefully, for anyone, again, who remembers my coaching background, I was fortunate to work at Leicester City for just over 3 years. I got to work with some amazing people at Leicester, and yeah, it was a really good time working with players like Harvey Barnes and Luke Thomas. Next result, Crystal Palace 1, Chelsea 1. For a lot of people, this was a bit of a shock. For me, it wasn't. I actually did predict a 2-2 score draw. So a 1-1 score draw was a correct score and a result of a draw. I think Crystal Palace is always a really tough ground to go to. A very small pitch, very tight pitch to play on. I don't think a lot of the Chelsea fans were happy. I think they were half expecting to win at Palace. However, I would even potentially, as a Liverpool fan, sometimes go into Palace. You wouldn't admit it, but you would secretly take a draw sometimes at Palace because it is a really tough place to go. So for me, a fair result. Chelsea kick on. They're having a great season. No doubt their home results will keep kicking on as well. Next game, Manchester City 4, West Ham 1. Again, I did predict a turnaround for Manchester City in this one. West Ham, unfortunately, had a real tough game against Liverpool last week where they lost 5-0. And I think it was a really tough ask to go to Manchester City. Are Manchester City on the turnaround and on the up again? I think so. I think they've got a lot of players coming back from injuries. Some of the younger players are starting to put in performances. And also the big thing that a lot of people are forgetting is that De Bruyne, only in the past couple of weeks, had come back from injury. Haaland can't do it every week. He does need a bit of a break sometimes. And I think it was just a little bit of a blip. And I think Manchester City are back in the groove. Will they win the Premier League? I think it's going to be a big ask to win the Premier League, but I've got no doubt that Manchester City And not many people will agree with this, but I do believe Manchester City will finish in second. And I believe Liverpool will win the Premier League this year. I think Arsenal and Chelsea just make too many mistakes and mess up, and they're not as consistent. And Manchester City have been there and done it before, and they are capable of putting 14 or 15 wins on the board in a row. And I wouldn't surprise me if they do. Is that going to be enough to catch Liverpool? I don't think so. I see it being a 6-7 points deficit, and I think Liverpool will win it by a couple of games. Next game at the weekend, Southampton 0, Brentford 5. I watched this game. For me, guys, Southampton are definitely relegated. Defensively all over the place. Midfield, they don't understand transition. I'd love to come and have a little look at them on the training ground and see what they're working on, because to me, it looks like they don't understand the basic principles of defending from the front. They don't know how to defend in the back, and also they don't understand when they turn the ball over about transition and speed of transition. They look like they want to play that ball forward and early as fast as possible. But when you're shipping 4 or 5 goals every week at home, you can't afford to be shifting that ball forward that early. I think for me, Southampton need to go back to basics, play a bit of possession out from the back, play it through the midfield, and don't be in a rush and a hurry to get it forward. Okay. Next game, Brighton 1, Arsenal 1. I actually predicted a score draw for this one as well. I did predict a 2-2. Again, a lot of Arsenal fans would have been hoping for a win in this game. Really, really topical touch point on this one, similar to the Tottenham game, was the penalty for Brighton. When I first seen it, I thought instantly straight away, yeah, it was a headbutt. And I don't think he intentionally went to headbutt the player, but it was a headbutt. He was going in the direction. He didn't have his body under control. And for me, that's a professional foul. And for me, because of the height and the head and going in with the head, it's a red card. It's foul play. There's a lot of other angles and a lot of slowed down views. And I know there was a lot of Arsenal fans at the weekend saying that they felt like they got robbed. I don't think they got robbed on that decision. I think they were very lucky not to get a player sent off. Arsenal, not top of the Premier League, but top of cards this year. Time wasting as well. I don't get it with Arsenal. I truly believe they've got an amazing coach, but I just get a feeling he's a little bit Arsene Wenger-esque, where he's cutting his nose off to spite his face. And 1-0 up in games and time wasting. Arsenal, for me, should take their Jurgen Klopp approach, rock and roll football, and just go for it. I think for me, for Arsenal, if they were to go at teams, rock and roll, especially teams like Brighton, I think they could have won that game 3 or 4-1. But being 1-0 up, and then a lot of the time wasting that's going on, and it's been thrown at Arsenal a heap of times this year. There was the incident with Declan Rice in the earlier part of the season. I think the coach, Arteta is bringing a lot of his own troubles to his own front door. I think he needs to go for it a little bit more, go after the games, go more rock and roll, and just give it a really good go. Now, next game as well, we had a few more games on at the weekend, and one of the big games, which we're going to talk about in a moment, was this morning's game between Liverpool and Manchester United. That was a great game, and I think one of the big games that we've got to talk about first, that was Fulham-Ipswich. We had a 2-2 draw in that game this morning. That was a little bit end-to-end. Probably one of the most improved teams so far in the past month or so has got to be Ipswich Town and Wolverhampton Wanderers for me. I truly believe Ipswich are going to stay up. Delap up top, going through the midfield, they look confident. I think they're going to be safe. Fulham is another interesting team. I've followed Fulham religiously all season. I thought they were very unlucky. I was at the game this year at Manchester City versus Fulham, and there was probably 4 opportunities Manchester City gave away, and Fulham had a chance to win that game. And how Manchester City won that game is beyond me. They were poor. Their cracks were starting to show in that game. But I think Fulham and Ipswich, for me, are going to be safe. I'm a big fan of Fulham as well, and everything that the coach is doing. They're definitely punching above the weight with the money that they spend. Liverpool 2, Manchester United 2. Am I surprised by this? No. I said it was either going to be a 5-0 to Liverpool, or it was likely to be a score draw, and I did predict a 1-1, not a 2-2. The big thing as a Liverpool fan, and most people will know I am a huge Liverpool fan, but am I disappointed? No, not really. I'm actually super excited, and I'll tell you why. Growing up in the 90s and early 2000s, we used to play Manchester United, obviously a lot. And 9 times out of 10, especially at Anfield, we'd beat them. And we'd have our moments and we'd celebrate, but we'd be 17, 18, 19 points off the top of the Premier League. And then Manchester United for the next 7 or 8 games would string 7 or 8 wins together and they would win the Premier League with 2 to 3 games to go. And that was me growing up through the age of 15 to 25, and that used to happen all the time. We're now at that point ourselves where we've beat Man United at United already. We go home, 2-2 score draw. I've got no doubt Liverpool will go on and win the next 4 to 5, 6 games, and this draw will be forgotten about. Will Man United kick on from this result? I don't believe so. I think the coach is a great coach. I was very fortunate to meet him at a meeting at Sporting Lisbon in September last year when I was doing work for UEFA. But there's big problems at Man United. It's right down to the stadium, to the financials, to the ownership, to the back room. I've heard a lot of rumours about trouble inside the dressing room with certain characters as well. I think Amarim needs 12 months to clear staff out, to clear players and bring in his own people. I'm a big fan of him as a coach, and I think he will get it right eventually. And I do hope that Manchester United, not many people will believe me when I say this, but I do hope they get it right. I hope they get up there again and start fighting for the title, because for me, the biggest game in football in the Premier League is Liverpool versus Manchester United, or the reverse fixture, Manchester United versus Liverpool. And I would love to see some of them games going gung-ho. But overall, 2-2, Liverpool 6 points clear, game in hand. It is away to Everton, but I've got no doubt that they'll get that win, and Liverpool are looking good at the moment. Now, final game to finish the weekend off. The game doesn't get played until Monday night in the UK, which is Tuesday morning in Australia. And that game is Wolverhampton Wanderers at home to Nottingham Forest. Forest are on a great run at the moment. They could move even closer again to Liverpool and consolidate top 4. However, I am also a big fan of Wolves and everything that they were doing in the early part of the season. Those games I spoke about when Liverpool played at Wolves and then Manchester City played at Wolves. I believe Liverpool and Man City were very lucky in both them games to get wins in them matches. And I could sense that Wolves were on the turnaround. I'm actually going to predict a 2-2 scoreline or possibly a 3-2 win to Wolves. I think in this game, I think Forest might actually underestimate Wolves a little bit and see this as a game where they can expand and express themselves and go and get the win. And I think that'll go against them. Wolves is a tough place to go. Very well organised under the new coach. And my prediction is a 2-2. So guys, big talking points from the weekend. Obviously, the handball that wasn't given at Tottenham Hotspur. A couple of really bad decisions in a few of the other games. Again, I think Arsenal time wasting. And also, for me, it was a red card. It was definitely a headbutt in the direction of the player. He could have pulled back from that, but he committed to it. And unfortunately, even though it wasn't an intentional headbutt, if you throw a foot in a direction and you mistime the tackle, you're going to get a straight red for a professional foul and you're off. Same with your head, guys. If you're throwing your head in a direction to head it, but you miss it, okay, it's dangerous. If you're headed to player, so for me, it should have been a straight red card. And it's going to be interesting to see if they do review that one to maybe even have a look at suspending the player. Also, guys, great result, I think. Manchester United 2-2 at Liverpool. I don't think Liverpool fans will be too disappointed overall. If you would have said to us in August last year, going into middle of Jan, you're going to be heading in 6 points ahead of the Premier League, over 15 or 12 points ahead of Man City with a game in hand, I would have absolutely snapped your hand off. So guys, from me at Ray's Reviews, a big thank you for joining us, and we'll be back next Monday with more FA Cup results and Premier League results from the week.